Thanks very much, Bridget. Now, I'm the last thing standing between you and a cocktail and further discussion. And unfortunately, I'm also not going to be very uplifting because I firmly believe that if we don't face the issues which are on the agenda, then we're not going to be able to solve them. And I think we started this morning in the Strategic Council with Yanis and others calling for brutal honesty. I think we have achieved that, not only this morning, but this afternoon. And I think it needs brutal honesty. It needs to be clear that we are in an incredibly difficult situation. And very often when you have these talks and people say, well, that was rather pessimistic, my experience is that people afterwards come, including politicians, and say, yes, I fully agree with you, but unfortunately, I can't sell any action to the populations. I can't do anything about it. So the political economy of actually doing something about this is not working anymore, and it's actually getting worse. My prediction for the next years is that the populists are going to discover an unholy trinity of topics. Migration will still be there, clearly up on the agenda, but also climate change and what that will mean in terms of people's lives. And Ukraine, it will come, and we will have to think a lot more about how we defend that consensus of action when it comes to that. We are facing tremendous challenges at this moment in time. We've talked about those challenges all day, but it's an incredibly long list. It is the perma crisis with all its different iterations over the last 15 years. It is the watershed of Russia's invasion of Ukraine. It is what is happening in the Middle East. It is the transformations which we are facing, which each one of them by themselves would be a tremendous challenge. But in combination, it also highlights the need to think about trade-offs, about priorities, about what we are not going to do anymore. And that is very, very difficult. It is very difficult also because we're not acting as if we have actually faced a watershed moment at Zeitenwende. We are still talking about policies in very pre-crisis mode. We are not talking about the taboos at national level, at European level. Whenever we are talking about concrete action, then the individual taboos come back up. And that means we are not doing what is needed. Just to give a couple of examples, one of the issues we have talked about a little bit today, but I think it's something we need to talk a lot more about, is the US and what will happen if we have a Trump 2 presidency or a general turn away from Europe from support for Ukraine. We are not prepared for this, but we're not even prepared to have that discussion because it's extremely uncomfortable. We're not prepared to talk about taxation at the European level. This is a debate which has to come. Instead, we're continuing to fight over little bits of money in the MFF with, unfortunately, the usual rather sad arguments in all directions. We're not talking about what will happen to the defense and security sector in Europe. One sector where we probably will see a big growth, but not necessarily in Europe. Are we prepared for that? These are just examples of the kind of taboos, the kind of strategic considerations we are not addressing. So it is not a pretty picture. Does that mean we should give up hope? I don't like to talk about hope or optimism or pessimism. I rather talk about normative responsibility, because this is no longer about what we are doing and how that is affecting us, but what we are doing for the next generations. Because the choices we are making now are going to determine whether the next generations can live in a world where their interests and values can still be defended. So there's a lot to do, and there's a lot to do for think tanks. I think A time like this needs think tanks more than ever. It is a place where we can have that strategic discussion, which is not taking place elsewhere. And I'm very proud that in the EPC, I think we have tried everything we can to move to this much more strategic, the much more transboundary discussion, the transversal discussion, which is necessary to start to address these questions and to start to determine what is it we actually want to do together. So I want to very much thank every one of you, all the participants at our various events throughout the year. I want to thank all of you also as consumers of our analysis, of our recommendations and advice. I want to thank all of the people who are involved in various forms within the EPC, from the governing board to the strategic council to the senior advisors and the academic fellows. All of you are making a big contribution to enable us to do what we can. Special thanks to our president. Very happy to have you on board. And also, I know Herman has had to go, but also to our honorary president, Herman van Rompuy. And of course, to all of our supporters, our strategic partners, foundations, and our membership, which enable us to do what we do. But last but certainly not least, I want to thank most the EPC team. What we are doing isn't possible without you. And I'm really looking forward to continuing working on these strategic, important issues and doing even more to speak truth with power. Thank you.